Countdown. Hello, welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. I am your host, Willie Bragg. Now, there is a discussion that's been going on lately in the last couple of years, and it's come to my attention, especially in the last year, what's going on in China, referred to as a social credit system. And I'm going to comment on that. And there is an inconsistency by some of the critics here about that social credit system. So I'm going to play you the video and get you kind of acquainted with the concept. Some of you know what it is, but for those that are not familiar, I'm going to play the video and then I'll give you my 2 cents worth afterwards. Okay. Hopefully we won't get a damn commercial ad.
In some of China's largest cities, a high-tech effort is underway to bust low-level offenders, jaywalkers. Cameras record them going through intersections, zero in on their face, and then publicly shame them on nearby video screens. It's all part of the Chinese government's new social credit system, where people's daily behavior is monitored and rated. I think it's a good thing, this woman said. It makes people more honest. But this social credit rating goes far beyond a traditional credit score, which is based on your finances. China's version factors in everything from jaywalking to smoking on trains to buying too many video games. If your score gets too low, you can be banned from buying plane tickets, renting a house, or getting a loan. Nearly 15 million people have already been prevented from traveling. Journalist Leo Hu is one of them. He recently tried to book a flight but was told he couldn't because he was on the list of untrustworthy people. I can't buy property. My child can't go to private school, he says. You feel like you're being controlled by the list all the time.
It can recognize more than 4,000 vehicles.
Chinese technology firms such as SenseTime are helping the government effort by developing advanced cameras that use artificial intelligence to track just about everything. This knows every person, every bike, every car, every bus that goes through the frame.
You can tell whether it is an adult, a child, a male or female.
Police in Beijing have been wearing these glasses that can recognize faces linked to the government's national database to help boost arrests. How advanced is this technology?
This is cutting edge.
Wu Fei is CEO of a company that makes the glasses. He claims he doesn't know how the government intends to use his technology.
I have no idea.
Really?
Yes.
Do you trust the government the way they're using your technology?
Sorry, I can't answer this.
You can't answer that.
This is the outside our scope of questions.
The fear, of course, is that the government may use this social credit scoring system to punish people that it deems not sufficiently loyal to the Communist Party. And trying to clear your name or fight your score is nearly impossible because there is no real due process. Jeff? CPI.
Okay, I knew there was going to be a little ad there. I would like to share my insight about this social credit system. Where do I stand on China? Social credit system, overall, the Chinese government, society. Well, I would say that China today is more democratic than it was during the days of Mao, obviously. But I am not comfortable with the social credit system. Having that said, I don't think the United States, people in the United States have any reason to sit there and lecture China when we have our very own. I mean, honestly, I don't want it in China. I don't want it here in the United States. I don't want such a system anywhere. So while it is problematic um, over there, we have it over here. There is a propensity in our society all around the world, just about every country in the world seems to be marching toward Big Brother, George Orwell. And I would like to see 1984 become fiction again. Unfortunately, 1984 is here. It's here in so many ways. They're in China, here in the United States, in all the other countries in the first world and the third world in between. No country seems to be immune from this. And that is kind of my point right there. So the days of and it's 2022. So in about 2 years, I am planning to visit Portugal to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Carnation Revolution. And what is significant about the Carnation Revolution in Portugal when it happened, April 25th, 1974, when the government was peacefully toppled by socialists, communists in the military, working together, creating the armed forces movement, and peacefully toppling one of Europe's last fascist regime, the Salazar regime. Martin Saitano was I think that's his name, was the successor to Antonio Salazar. And I'm going to pontificate for a moment on this, this topic of Portugal going to the side here, because it kind of relates to this. I mean, as I said, it was an authoritarian, clerical, fascist state. Not to the level Adolf Hitler, and maybe not even to the level of Benito Mussolini, but more like Franco's Spain or Chile under Augusto Pinochet. And the people got tired of dictatorship in Portugal. And the military peacefully toppled the government. And Portugal is a democracy today because of it. One could argue that in 1974, Portugal was the most free society in the world during the aftermath of the Carnation Revolution. Freedom of speech, reproductive rights for women, gay liberation, just an openness in society. And they have pushed the envelope in many ways. They don't have a drug epidemic in Portugal today because they legalize all drugs in Portugal. Portugal is a very, very kick-ass country in many, many ways. And I kind of, when it comes to personal liberties, they're probably ahead of their game, so far as I can tell. So, but we're moving away from the goals and the accomplishments of the Carnation Revolution. That should have been the way of the world. But we're headed toward 1984 everywhere. And the United States is not immune from it. In fact, the United States pretty much encourages it. I've heard that the United States supports 70% of the world's dictatorships around the world today. So that speaks volumes. Well, let's talk about this man here for a moment. Ed Snowden. Oh, hold on. Let me get you Ed Snowden's photo up here. The man's living in Russia today because the United States wants to, put this guy in prison for letting people know that, hey, we're all being spied on. I think we all knew this before, but Ed Snowden brought it out into the public for everybody to know. And why the hell should we be surprised? And I mean, we're surveillance today. Whatever you look at on the internet, whenever you make your phone calls, you go to a mall, go to a store. There's cameras watching you everywhere. Surveillance cameras everywhere. And so, you have to be careful what you're saying in some cases, because some of them can kind of read your lips, even though you're not, they can't exactly hear you. And people can draw wrong conclusions about things, the way that the cameras are angled and all of that. I am not so sure by us having all these surveillance cameras everywhere that we're all that better off. One of the things I did not like when I went to England in 2006 was the surveillance cameras that were around street corners. So that, and people will be like, well, that proves what you're saying about the kind of government you want. You like England so much, they go monitor people. Drive on a road, and a lot of stoplights have a surveillance camera. So I mean, for people to sit there and to criticize China's social credit system, I mean, we do a hell of a lot of this shit ourselves. And in fact, I think in many ways the United States invented that concept. You think about it, there's more to this, because as I said, I brought the example of Ed Snowden, and we need to always remember that how we're way more authoritarian now than we were, prior to 9/11. And these two assholes here, George W. Bush and Dick Cheney, pretty much brought our totalitarianism that we have today. It's not as overt right now, but it's kind of like there's a scenario about boiling a frog. You put a frog in a water and it's warm, and then you turn the temperature a little higher. Over a course of times, they won't feel it, and then eventually the frog cooks. That's the analogy there. Well, Bush Cheney got this shit started, and we're living with the repercussions today. It continued under Obama, it continued under Trump, and it is still continuing, and it was likely to continue under the next president, no matter who gets elected in 2024. So I want y'all to think about that for a moment. But getting back to what I was saying, this whole, I mean, it really goes back further than that, because we can go back to, well, speaking of the current president, when he was the senator in Delaware, Joe Biden brought us that crime bill, and where 50 crimes were added to the federal death penalty, and the results that went on that put a lot of minorities for somewhat minor crimes in jail during the 1990s. I mean, we can argue all day long, what a racist piece of shit or asshole that Donald Trump, he was during his presidency. We can argue about that all day long. And those are valid points about Donald Trump's, past with regard to some things that are kind of bigoted in his character. Joe Biden referred to integrating public schools as a concrete jungle in the 1970s. Joe Biden was very close, chummy with Senator Jesse Helms and Strom Thurmond. Joe Biden, will make gaffes, that are considered insensitive toward minorities. I mean, a lot of the authoritarianism that we have, he's contributed to it in many ways in the past. So I mean that it goes back further than that. And yeah, I'm almost 53 years old. Gosh, everybody knows how old I am. But I remember way back in the early 90s and late 80s, George Herbert Walker Bush and Vice President Dan Quayle. And what happened? I mean, they were proposing boot camps for nonviolent drug offenders. Boot camps. I mean, we had harms reduction, basically, what they were doing. I mean, no, not harms reduction. Zero tolerance. That's what it was. Zero tolerance. It was legislation. I believe Jesse Helms was the one that authored the legislation where people can just, our government can just confiscate property from people if they suspect drug dealing or even drug usage. Like what happened in Florida with a wealthy man who was not a drug user in any shape or form, but somebody who was cleaning the boat left a marijuana cigarette on the boat, and the boat was confiscated by the U.S. government. It wasn't a bunch of socialists that were confiscating shit. It was right-wing politicians with people in the U.S. government with a right-wing outlook, and cracking down hard on casual drug users was the order of the day. And I remember when I've always favored legalization of marijuana, but when I used to favor it in the late 80s, early 90s, I had people telling me, probably 90% of the people told me I was out of my fucking mind. And hopefully within the next decade, marijuana will be legal. One of the more optimistic things to look forward to. Because a lot of the people over the years that favor this harsh approach to fighting crime, especially in relation to drugs, realize that the drug war is a failure. And it was a failure. So anyway, as I said, while the United States sits there and criticizes people in the United States criticizes China over their social credit system, we have our very own here. We focus on locking up people. We focus on, we don't focus on rehabilitation. We don't believe in giving people a second chance. Felons can't vote. And when felons leave prison, they don't get a fresh start. They're fucked for life. They might not be able to find a good paying job because, they fucked up early in life. Nobody gets a second chance anymore. And it's considered a sign of weakness to do that. I don't consider it a sign of weakness. I consider it, I consider basically giving people a second chance makes us a good society if we can kind of go back into that direction. And even with cancel culture, whether it's Joe Rogan saying whatever that's offending overzealous liberals at the moment, or whether it's Ward Churchill in the University of Colorado triggering neocons back in 20 years ago when he made comments about what the United States is doing abroad is what brought us 9/11. But those same right wingers did not they overlooked Dinesh D'Souza when Dinesh D'Souza blamed Western leftists for 9/11, claiming that we upset traditionalists within the Middle East and that prompted 9/11 against us. That's Dinesh D'Souza. That would have been considered a treasonous remark by some people on the left if they would have made that remark. But then again, you have people who are partisan as hell and wants to go and let people get away with these asinine remarks. And I'm really frankly shocked that a lot of progressives have not called out Dinesh D'Souza on that. But anyway, that's beside the point. But before we sit there and throw stones at a glass house, we need to go and check ourselves. Yeah, no social credit system anywhere. That includes the United States. It includes the United States. Because it's kind of like you go through life and you got to cross your T's and slash your I's. And you sometimes I feel like there are people out there trying to get me. Trying to find something on you. And because of that, I'm convinced that this social credit system is an American thing. I mean, look how we penalize people smoking, for example. Somebody who has a bad diet. We penalize people for this shit here. I mean, the most extreme, over-the-top examples, Mayor Michael Bloomberg that wanted to go and ban 32-ounce sugary drinks. Now, I think that it's not the smartest thing in the world to have a sugary drink, but having that said, I don't think it should be against the law or be forbidden. I mean, yeah, honestly. Or somebody can get hired because they test positive for drug use. I mean, and you got people that wants to piss jar test you every 3 or 4 months. I've been in a job like that, where they were just randomly drug testing people at a department warehouse for in a line of work that being high in your spare time will not go and affect your job for the worse. So just like if you go, I don't advise people to get drunk and get behind the wheel. That's not responsible. But again, you're punished and socially ostracized too. And it used to be that if you get pulled over for drunk driving, it wasn't held against you the way it's held against you today. And we're a very unforgiving society in a lot of areas. Some of it's in the government, but a whole lot of it's in the private sector. It's a lot of it's in the corporate sector. And so we really are in no position to judge. Not at all. And that's basically what I wanted to talk about this morning. So anyway, we have here a nice little chat line. Give me a moment and I'm gonna scroll up. Les Bones, great seeing you. It's been a while. I'm glad you're here today. Let's see here. Hello, by the way, Willie. Hello, Les Bones. And invalid _ arg _ hello. Interesting topic last night on Twitch. Hot retarded chicks is just going to fragment society to ashes. Right? Absolutely. And I'm trying to scroll some more. Is that it? Oh, hold on. All right. Let's see here. Started with Clinton and Bush 1. I say it started before, but really got underway under Clinton and Bush 1. Yeah, you are correct. Let's see, Willie ahead of the curve. I try to be. All countries are guilty of doing this. It seems to be the trend these days. Let's see, or trying to at least. That seems to be. I gotcha. Let's see here. what Joe Rogan said was really cringe, but that was more than 10 years ago. Yeah, everybody said things in the past that was not, that's not, obviously not a good thing, and I don't excuse what he said in the past, but that was the past. And honestly, the Rush Limbaughs and the Sean Hannitys of the world have made more offensive comments than Joe Rogan, and yet, nothing seems to happen to them. To see people change, and I agree, people do change. I remember not liking Rogan during that time. I remember not liking Rogan 20 years ago, but it's times have changed in that regard. Let's see, St. Willie. JAP, I have not seen you in a while. I hope you're doing well today. And it looks like that's kind of it right now for the chat line here. If you all like what you heard, press like and comment. Comment any way if you disagree with what I have to say. We'll have a conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel as a First Amendment absolutist. It's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it because we're, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Subscribe to this channel. Help make this channel grow. And until next time, keep that red flag flying. Keep the class struggle going. And we're, of course, all Julian Assange. And I'm going to keep saying that until Julian Assange is a free man. Until next time, take care. And, of course,